Stugotz, it has been fascinating, legitimately fascinating, as I talk a lot around here about how the sports media elder statesmen, how it is that they are going to age. Stephen A. Smith is now on a show where you see on the bottom line all the time the number one sports debate show on television. You see advertising for Stephen A's show outside of ESPN, where he is building something outside of ESPN, for Shannon Sharp's brand and show outside of ESPN, is scrolling across the bottom. And I don't know if people have noticed or even care, but I will tell you that I've noticed, because it's not something that can be ignored. When there is so much fracturing of audience that you question all ratings and everyone is divided because there's so many different people making things in different places, and television numbers are down because we are not watching things the same way that we used to. First Take on Monday did almost 900,000 people watching at one time, which I think represents their best rating in 20 years. I don't even know what was going on in 2003 that would put the number that high. Football always helps. I don't know what was going on. If Tebow was a part, that sounds like it was too long ago. I don't know what was happening, but that is a monster number when all
Tebow
numbers
was like 2006.
When all numbers are declining, that is a giant number to have stationary in daytime that represents almost twice as much as what that show has always done at its best. And Stephen A. has spent 2 years defending his decision in various places, or maybe 18 months, to not have Max Kellerman on that show because he wanted to do a different show. And he's being rewarded with it with numbers that you don't generally see on television these days.
The NFL helps, college football helps, but I think having the Cowboys lose on Sunday night the way they lost, I think a lot of people tuned in to see Stephen A's reaction to that.
It's not just that, though, because Shannon Sharp took the people from Skip Bayless with him. I told you at the time that Skip Bayless at this point needs Shannon Sharp more than Shannon Sharp needed Skip Bayless, and that has proven to be true. But in defending his decision, I want to play some sound for you. We already played the sound of Marcellus Wiley saying that Stephen A. was threatened by Max's intellect. He pointed out, among other things, that Stephen A. had a learning disability when he was young, and Stephen A. went on the Breakfast Club because he's been doing a hell of a job of promoting his things and promoting his brand. And again, it's been fascinating to watch, Stugotz, as his power has grown there, him being able to take what is already the number one show there and turn it into his personal commercial for his brand and things that he is building outside of ESPN. Here is Stephen A. on the Breakfast Club responding specifically to Marcellus Wiley's commentary, which was commentary I had not heard anywhere else from anybody when he was talking about the removal of Max Kellerman.
Things speak for itself. The decisions that were made speak for itself. It is what it is. Business is business, period. In terms of what Marcellus Wiley said, now that I will address directly. And I only have one thing to say. He and I work together, got a lot of respect for him. I know the man he was talking about as his best friend. I get all of that. No problem. Here's my only issue. For a black man to sit up there and say another black man is scared of somebody's intellect. Come on, bro. That's just the line you crossing. And I have nothing more to say other than that. That's sad that he would go that route. I guess that he's going to get attention because obviously everybody who watches The Breakfast Club every chance we get, and he's going to see, talk about it. I'm certainly not going to argue with him. I've always had a lot of respect for him. Me and Marcellus Wiley have never had one issue. And I don't care what support he has for his boy or anybody else. I get that. I support my boys too. But I would never in a million years say that one black man is scared of the intellect of a white man.
There is no disputing, Stugotz, that he has been rewarded for the decisions that he is making in ways that are empirically measured. He objected the other day to me saying that he wants to end Skip Bayless's career. His response was, "No, I just want to compete."
No, he doesn't.
Well, I don't think he dislikes Skip. People, man, Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. are profuse in their gratitude for Skip Bayless offering them an avenue and a platform that allowed them to grow the things that they grew. And he says he doesn't want to end anyone's career, that he wants everybody to be able to make money at this trough, but he wants to make more of it. He wants to win more. And at the moment, there can be no disputing that he is winning more because everyone is losing numbers, Stugotz. All of this is so very fractured. Skip Bayless one day early in the season with a new format was doing a number of like 60,000 gathered at their television. To do 10 times that, to have people on morning television watching a show, and it's football and it's Shannon Sharpe, but it's
also ESPN, Dan. I mean, it's a bigger platform than
I know,
FS1.
but Stugotz, he's been on ESPN for a long time with the number one show and not done this kind of number. Like, that. If you tell me it's also McAfee's not holding the number, the number's not holding. You tell me it's ESPN, but McAfee's not holding the number. It's almost an impossible number to hold if I don't put a game there. Most things that ESPN puts on don't do that number unless there's a game there. PTI used to do stuff like that at the beginning when it was at the advent of what it is. You remember when PTI would bleed into SportsCenter because they just wanted to grab the numbers. They wanted to hold the numbers. Those numbers are long gone for everybody in sports television except this show on Monday.
Yeah, but there's still something to be said, Dan, even today, for a show that's consistently there, same time, same channel, every single day. It's been there for years. It will be there for years. There's still something with a great host, not a good host, a great host with great opinions. Whether you like Stephen A. or not, you cannot debate whether or not he is excellent at television. He's great, and he's there every single morning in the same slot on the same station. And Pat McAfee, as you mentioned, he just got here. Like, it takes a minute. It took us a minute. It takes everyone a minute.
Again, those Stugotz, nobody's doing those numbers.
Nobody.
But I think Stugotz hit on exactly why that's happening, which is they have carved out a lane where you feel like they not only provide the definitive opinion on something, they set the agenda for the day. So often their takes end up becoming the prism through which we view sports. And, what will First Take say about this on Monday? And the idea that even if it is the Cowboys losing by 32 to San Francisco, it's, what will they say about the Cowboys losing by 32 in San Francisco? They have developed a niche where people want to hear what they have to say. They set the agenda for the day. And whether it's 400,000, 600,000, 700, I mean, realistically, those numbers are pretty small, particularly in the context of what the actual games themselves do. But it's more about they have a cultural relevance where they set the agenda for all of sports conversation.
And it's not just the sports conversation. Stephen A. has started doing a fair amount of like navel gazing in terms of talking about himself. We are talking about Stephen A. talking about himself and his coworkers.
Is he doing that on First Take, though?
No,
but that's not the point.
this is how he's growing the thing outside of that.
Right.
The thing that he's growing.
This is how he gets earned media. This is how like people
Exactly.
like the human drama of I dump my co-host to the curb and we're doing better.
We're
now.
doing it. We're promoting
Right.
Stephen A. right now by talking about...
And all of us, if we were Max Kellerman, would hate that.
Correct.
Like, absolutely despise the idea that Stephen A. Smith, what is this, a year on from him dumping Max
still
Kellerman?
talking about
is still
that?
banging on about it? I'd be like, dude, can I have my career back, please? Like, you're just digging more shovels into my career. Can you stop?
and essentially building a super team of the other personalities who have been capable of doing the same thing. So you bring in all of these other personalities and their audiences. They know that you're the guy. And from there, you build a narrative that's not only about how do I react, by the way, as the best in the business at being able to react to sports, but also you care what I have to say about me. And so you're going to come to me in all of these other circumstances where you want to know what's going on about my life the same way that we talk about the athletes. Like he's turned himself into the personality.
I'd go a step further, though, on watching closely what it is he is doing and saying, because when Stugotz in the middle of layoffs, he's telling you, I can be next. and then you watch on ESPN the scroll for a daily infomercial of him telling you, and you can catch me over here on the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube, where I have my own production company, and you're treating ESPN, the power in sports, as something that is a promotional vehicle for your other projects outside of sports, where you have more room to do the navel gazing and the conflict and create the tensions with the athletes that get people to where you are away from ESPN. He's clearly building a safety net right in front of your eyes, like he's doing. If he's telling you out loud, I could be next when everyone knows he's untouchable. I can be next when every time you call up ESPN.com, all you've got there are McAfee and Stephen A. Smith. It's just the faces of who it is they've made the big investments in, and it's their faces again and again. And he's telling you, I could be next on the firings. It's clear that unemotionally, rationally, he's protecting the business and the brand of Stephen A. Smith in the event he gets let go by ESPN again, because he's told you here on South Beach Sessions, other places, he's told you about how wounded he was, how lost he was, that he lost the identity. ESPN, Stugotz, Dan Patrick was talking for a couple of years about working in his attic. I'll tell you personally how hard the last 2 years have been without the infrastructure of what it is that they provide. The idea that he's plotting it right in front of your face in the event that they make him expendable, he's not going to be expendable.
That's how McAfee is the model to him. Yeah. Because
Right, yes.
McAfee has, this enormous deal where he'll be, face of College Game Day, 12 to 3 on ESPN. But if that ever fell apart, he just goes back to his YouTube platform, which is an enormous thing in other people's algorithms. Stephen A. basically looked at that and goes, "Oh, I need to build one of those. I need to have one of my own ecosystems that survives on its own." I think that's how McAfee is probably inspirational to other people.
I heard back from Costas. He said no. He said he's busy with baseball. He told me to say hello to you. He said perhaps next week when his portion of the baseball playoffs is over, hopefully between now and then he'll save another life.
Okay. I mean, we wanted to
He's just going to go to restaurants and hope that people choke.
Just go watch Kershaw pitch.
The Orioles already did. There is, in general, always a lot going on around here. So just in the last couple of minutes, when there was, for a moment, blissful silence around here, what I overheard, it didn't last very long. I've got Stugotz on one front asking me, "Hey, Dan, I haven't made our annual call to Bob Costas yet. We have one call a year that he allows us to come on the show. Should I call him because he saved a person's life?"
With the Heimlich maneuver.
Yes.
And my answer was yes, we should make the call to
Really?
Bob Costas, yes.
Okay.
But as this was happening, Billy is wandering past me and whispers at me, "You're the baseball kiss of death." Every team that you like immediately fails in a spectacular fashion.
The Rays, the Orioles, the Marlins.
Who are you into now?
And wait, hold on a second.
What do you have against the Rangers?
I will get there in a second. The Rangers just weren't that good the second half of the season. They were very good mashing the ball the first half of the season, and then I thought they were falling apart. They were falling apart the second half of the season.
I mean, how about some credit for a team that lost Jacob deGrom? They lost Max Scherzer. I mean, that's what former Mets do to you. I mean,
It's amazing. All the Rangers did was spend and spend and spend
Yes.
and spend and spend and trade and trade and trade and trade and trade.
Boom.
And the worse it looked, the further deep they sunk into it. And somehow that's led them to being in the LCS.
And Garcia is one of the coolest players I've ever seen.
Oh, my God, he's incredible.
Every time he hits a home run, really just an enormous amount of swagger.
I bet baseball a lot this season, but I didn't watch it a lot. So I was a big Rangers over guy, but I learned a lot. I was like, they have a Aroldis Chapman. That's fun. I was like, this Garcia guy, who's he? He's good.
He's fun to watch.
You bet a sport you don't watch on? That's madness. What
All
are you
the
doing?
time.
Rangers over, baby. Money in the
So
bank.
you just look at the box score and see that they score a lot of
Orioles,
runs?
Zagacki.
The Orioles totals were good all season too until they got to Evaldi all of a sudden.
They're gambling again.
Their team totals, them 4.5, over 4.5. They mash. But as all of this is happening, also Jeremy is apologizing to me because during the segment on Israel, he was supposed to be wearing a bear costume. He informed me that he was supposed to be today wearing a bear costume as part of
I gave him a pass.
part of his punishment. You're not in charge of the grid of death anymore.
Yeah,
I am.
Well, Wait, you are? No, you're not.
I've
Get
been
outta
the one
here.
writing in all of everybody's punishments.
Yeah,
in our
no,
little
but I'm
Google
the
sheet.
enforcer.
You're
yeah.
the secretary.
I'm in charge.
Correct.
Yeah.
Retroactively, Jeremy, go sit in the penalty box.
Perfect.
Wow.
Well, I gave him a pass.
I thought he was
doesn't
great
need to
that
go.
segment.
Yeah,
Okay.
why does he
You're
need to
not
go?
in charge.
Well, who's in
anymore.
charge then?
In general of everything happening here, that would be me.
Well, I mean,
And he's going to the. I know there's some.
Checks out.
I know there's
His name
often
is behind him.
confusion about that around here.
when you got to look in the mirror, then when people aren't completing punishments, it sounds like.
As all of that was happening, Stugotz was daring Billy to name a single UTEP player.
The miners. I mean,
And what I told him was, I got 9.5 hours to get this, Stugotz. I'm good as long as you don't book the head coach of the Merchant Marine for us later today, which is how these things end up going on lighter days.
Did he try to get the FIU coach?
6:30.
An hour before kickoff?
Yep.
Whitty can
FIU will do anything. I mean,
Whitty can speak to this because I really don't believe that most people listening to this have any earthly idea how hard it is to do what Kirk Herbstreit does, where you go from one game to another midweek and you have to learn 95 new players and you're doing 2 or 3 of these a week when Al Michaels, who's pretty good at all this stuff, is doing once a week because this stuff is hard to
The
do.
color guy's job's easy. Come on. Whitty's doing the real work back there. I mean, he's just looking at a roster. He sees the numbers. He's reacting to plays.
The
right.
color guy,
He's dancing around Whitty. I mean,
Live telestrating.
I've heard you on spring training, Stugotz. You've told me before how easy it is, and then I've seen proof that it's not quite as easy as you think.
I was in the lead seat, though, Dan. I mean, that's different. I wasn't dancing around anyone. I mean,
You did both jobs poorly.
Thank you.
David Sampson took the lead seat from you during that spring
You had
training.
no choice.
Well, yes, because
It's a
you
very smart contingency plan from
you
David.
lost the lead seat quickly because you think the jobs in sports are all jobs that you can do. And Billy's going tonight. Where can they hear you do FIU football, Billy? Because you haven't told anybody. You seem, even though you're nervous about everything and fear just about everything, you seem calm and weirdly relaxed about the fact that you don't know very much about what you're headed into
on a
in
second.
terms of UTEP football.
I will be prepared for UTEP football. You can listen on 1140 WQBA tonight. It will be in English, but it'll be on a Spanish station. And we're working out a situation where we can be streamed at the same time, you know what I mean? Maybe on the social medias. And if you want to do this, friends, if you want to watch the game, it will be on ESPN2, and then you could put that on mute, and then you can tune in, and you can listen to the call of the game. So you can kind of, if my words are not painting an accurate picture of what's going on because I get distracted by, Rory the Panther or something in the end zone, then you can see what's happening in the actual game.
Whitty, as someone who has climbed in the industry to do some of the
I don't like where this is going.
biggest events in sports for Apple Television, where would you put on the show business broadcasting ladder doing a game in English on Spanish language?
I don't like that. I don't like what's going on here. What is this supposed
as
to
a
mean?
veteran of having done that, it definitely feels like you're yelling into a well.
No, our fans, listen, guys, pause up tonight. This is going to be the biggest college football game in Conference USA out there. And I feel like the
On a Wednesday
nation
night.
as a whole is going to kind of galvanize around the Panthers tonight on Vice night. They're going to have their Vice uniforms on there, and they're going to watch the game. And tonight, we're all Panthers. I'm just going to say it.
Pause up.
Tonight, we're all, thank you, Whitty. Pause up, everybody, around the country tonight. We're all going to be Panthers watching the game on ESPN2 on mute and then listening to the game on WQBA, La Grande, Radio Mambi in English, which was a confusing thing because...
Aren't those two different stations?
I don't know. My dad thought that I was calling the game in Spanish for a while when I told him about this. And he's like, yeah, you're doing the game in Spanish, right? I'm like, God bless you for believing in your son so much. There's no way that I'm going to be calling a college football game in Spanish.
Forgive my ignorance here because my information is dated, but is it not so that WQBA is the most aggressively political Spanish station in the history of this
the home of the Panthers.
I feel like they flip formats. I think they're just a general news station
What
now.
are you trying to accomplish with
Actually,
this?
I am saying
Are they
that-
doing any radio
Are we
now?
trying to draw people to this or away from this? This is the station that airs the games. That's where it's going to be on. What do you want me to do?
this is what I need to explain to America that might not be familiar with this. Before Rush Limbaugh, okay, what polluted our market was aggressive Spanish language radio that was, as far as I could tell, totally ungoverned by people who were speaking English. And what I would listen to on WQA with transmissions that I knew were coming in from Cuba in the background, hearing beneath what it is that they were doing, was a form of radio that at the time, as I was growing up, was clearly unregulated. Clearly had no rules.
It was one of the most influential radio stations of its time, but I mean, the audience for it literally it aged out of being a relevant demo. It's now a Spanish sports talk station.
No, it's now the home of the Panthers,
Yes,
and that's what we're going to be talking tonight.
Whitty
Pause up, everybody.
Whitty is right. They flipped the format, Dan. It's all sports all the
Tudena
time.
Radio.
Okay, I don't know how
Radio
long.
Mambi's another one, too. I got that wrong, but Lewis said it in my head today as I was talking, and I should know better than just go with
Why
what he
are you
says.
do? Why is
He
Lewis?
tried to get me to say it as
Why?
well.
People are getting
I
comfortable
don't know
and
why
talking
Lewis.
into my headset
Why
while I'm
does
talking.
Lewis have access to anybody?
My head? I don't know.
To anybody.
I don't know.
It is not good judgment that is polluting. It is a virus that needs to be stamped out. Him talking in everybody's ears. It is not helpful to anybody, as far as I can tell.
Dan, are you going to go to the game tonight?
No, Billy.
Why?
Why?
It's at the Cage.
It's a big one.
Quick drive.
I want to get back for a second to something that I believe is very different about Miami. Amin recently, when we got into census talk, seemed to object, as many people do, to me saying that Miami is, I believe, unique in a number of respects in America. And I was talking about how foreign Dade County is. And I heard a stat the other day that I didn't even know in terms of how foreign Dade County is, that 75% of Dade County homes, the language being spoken at home is not English. I don't believe that's true of many counties of that size anywhere in America. There are places like Washington Heights and places in Los Angeles and San Antonio that may have some of that, but Miami is hugely different in that respect, where in my age, WQA was by far the largest of stations down here. They would crush all the English-speaking language stations because of us being a city that is sort of between Latin America and traditional United States, it floating around in the Caribbean, kind of separate from everything in the United States. The thing that Billy is doing tonight on WQA, which I am stunned to learn now, is a total sports station.
And oddly enough, the station this show used to be on is now the WQA of the market, which is $7.90 the ticket, is now the Spanish talk or political talk format station in the market.
Full circle.
How confused is your father, Billy, by everything happening tonight that you are brought? How confused was he by you telling him, I am coming on here and doing it in English, and he thought you were doing it in Spanish, which, by the way, I would go to see. I would go to see you attempt to do that in Spanish.
Or just listen.
Well, that sounds like you're going because you think I'm going to fail. It sounds like it's not from a place of support.
Billy, I would be going to do to you what you have done to me the entire time you have sat in that seat since I've known you.
I've only been here like 6 months. I feel like, Dan, I announced the other day, I said, I'm here to uplift people. And everyone laughed at me.
That's what you do. Yeah.
You are looking forward to this evening. You are no longer nervous about these things. You are celebrating that you are able to be an alum and call a game, and you're going to be uniquely yourself. You're going to bring chaos to the proceedings, correct?
I was invited. This is going to be the second time that I've done this. The last time was in 2019, so it's been a while. And I do have a second game booked 2 weeks from now.
Wow.
So I'm kind of trying to figure out the best strategy here, because I don't want to get my second game canceled, but I want to have fun. So I have to toe the line here, Dan. You know what I mean? I have to give them what they want, but also not go too far so I'm not welcome
You want to be
again.
invited back.
Exactly right.
Greg
Yeah.
Cody references. That's what you should do. That'll keep you coming back. That kind of thing. Zagaki.
Be just okay tonight. All right.
No, I want to be good. I want to get. I also think I kind of know what they want from me, and I don't think that it's like serious analysis, which puts me in a situation where it's like, am I a clown to you?
And you know it.
Will you throw in a phrase for the audience? Is there a chance that you throw in a Greg Cody phrase as one of your signature calls?
Sure.
You never know.